All right, we're going to preview a large weekend of commits, start of July, well, actually end of June, as we have one to talk about for tomorrow. Some sad news on the timeline. Looks like we might be missing a player. We'll see what happens there, but let's start off with the first one. Tomorrow, 4-star defensive tackle Preston Kerry out of IMG, but originally from New York, commits. I don't know the time. I saw something like he has a party from like a 7 to 9. That wasn't said if it was AM or PM, so I'm not sure what it's going to be.
Probably PM, right? You would think?
Well, I mean, Preston Kerry, from what I've heard and from what I've read, is a very different individual compared to a lot of recruits. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Like, when he goes to his exit interviews, like, he wears full suits. Like, he treats everything like a business. Like, he'd be the type that's up at, like, 5 a.m. and ready to go in the mornings. Like, from things I've heard, like, that's not a shot. That's not a shot. Like, so that's why, like, if it was most other recruits, I'd probably say it's, like, PM. But this is, like, the one rare one where I wouldn't be shocked if it's AM or PM.
Yeah.
So, the consensus, so his top 4 teams, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, and of course other powerhouse Rutgers. Now, being from New York, he grew up. I'm pretty sure he grew up a Rutgers fan. That's the hometown team for him. Reports are very conflicted here. This is one that camps that's very quiet. No one really knows. The one constant here, the one constant that keeps being pointed out is Florida. I've heard of Florida Rutgers, Florida Georgia. I've heard Auburn's making a push with like Florida being the team. Like, I don't feel confident saying he's going to be a Gator, but I don't feel confident saying he's going anywhere. I'm going to say we do land him because, the other D-line targets, you had Bodney Cleveland, ended up going to Texas. James Johnson committed to Georgia yesterday or Friday. I can't remember. I think it was yesterday. And then, we'll see what happens with Gervil and Sohn, but it's not like we're hugely in the lead for him. So I think, and Preston Kerry is still a 4-star defensive lineman. I think he's someone that could be a pretty good program guy, a good body for the room. So I think they're going to really try to go in and make sure we end up landing this guy.
Yeah, like my view here, because kind of, like what you said and like what we were talking about off air, like just kind of an enigmatic recruitment here. Not a lot of like hints in any direction. I mean, my kind of vibe is that it's not as simple as like if he's a take, Florida's going to get him. But I kind of feel like if Florida really puts on like the full court press down the stretch here to get him, I feel like they have a pretty good shot. Like, I think it kind of depends on like how much Florida has prioritized him here in these last few weeks. Cause like if they have, I feel like they're in a pretty advantageous spot. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's just no one really knows yet. I really has heard much. Go Gators, Jimbo. Hope you're enjoying the stream here. Just wanted to shout you out in the comments there. All right, next we're going to talk about, so the commitment date isn't exactly 100% because I originally it was set for the 1st, but I've heard it might be on the 3rd. But CJ Hester, 4-star corner out of Cocoa, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Cocoa. Yeah. Not
Cocoa,
yeah, he's from Cocoa. Yeah.
Okay, so Cocoa High School or Cocoa, Florida. I expect it to be Florida. I know Georgia and Iowa got some visits, and he said that they made some pretty large moves on him, but this guy's been someone that I've expected to be a Gator for a long time. Going back to last football season even. So I'd be shocked if we didn't land CJ Hester.
Yeah, like this has been kind of one of the top targets the whole time, like even super early in the cycle, like you said, kind of a guy that's been widely expected to be a Gator. I mean, this seems like it'd be pretty surprising if the Gators don't get CJ Hester here on Tuesday Tuesday.
Tuesday or Thursday.
Or Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah. It wouldn't be a surprise if they don't get him on Tuesday. It would be a surprise if they don't get him on Tuesday or Thursday. Because it's unclear exactly when that decision is going to be made.
All right. So next one we're going to talk about. Let's talk about 5-star wide receiver Sedarian Morgan out of Alabama. So this is one that I've always been on the train that it's Alabama until it's not. I know Florida's made a real good push for him. I think if he wasn't from Bama and surrounded by everybody in his family being Alabama fans, I think Florida would have an actually pretty good chance at landing Sedarian Morgan. I think we have a decent. I think we're gonna finish second here, but I just don't see it happening. I think this is one that we're gonna keep pushing for throughout the season. Arguably the best wide receiver in this class, so we're gonna keep pushing for him. He's someone that could play on he's a day one type of wide receiver, and maybe Bama struggles a bit. I mean, last year their offense was pretty bad or inconsistent. New QB, maybe things go awry there, and Morgan has to leave, and it's like Florida's right there. But
yeah,
I don't think this is one's going to happen on a Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, this is seems like one of kind of a few cases like this in this cycle where Florida's made a really impressive effort on a guy that they, were in a pretty disadvantaged position for just due to circumstances. Like this kid's from Alabama, has Alabama and Auburn pushing hard for him. So those are hard battles to win in general. And I kind of think like a few of them, they're probably going to come up just short. Like you said, maybe this is one where, you can take advantage of the fact that you finished second. Maybe he's a flip candidate if Alabama, because I mean, if Alabama were to go like 8-4 or even 9-3 again this year, it's going to be like, DEFCON 0. So, like maybe you can take advantage of that if you're Florida, sort of step in and get in there late. But yeah, I don't think there's really any chance that he's committing to Florida on Wednesday for sure.
Yep. All right, next we're going to talk about one that hurts a little bit to talk about right now. 4-star edge rusher Trent Henderson out of Pensacola, Florida. We talked about his after his official visit, all the signs were to Florida. There's a little bit of worry because he's taking that official visit to Texas, but it's like, oh, okay, Texas lands another 5-star Richard Wesley. They have another highly ranked guy that they're also projected to land. So it's like, hey, Florida's might actually land him. And then he announces his commitment date. All the predictions rolling for Florida. And until Friday afternoon, it's looking great. Well, now actually, within the past 30 minutes, Wilt Fong has put a Fong bomb in for Trent Henderson to go to LSU. Friday night, LSU went and dropped the bag. Seems like we're not willing to offer that much right now. I mean, I've heard different things that it's over. Some say it's not. I'm on the edge that side that on July 2nd, he will be committing to LSU. And it's like, I'd be a bit shocked now if he did commit to Florida. But it's one that, let the season go on. You saw it last cycle. It's from Florida. He's someone that moved up his commitment date from later on in the season to this date. And when he set that commitment date, Florida was the leader. And he probably was going to commit to Florida. But then LSU dropped a pretty good bag for him. So I don't think this one's over yet. But on July 2nd, I fully expect him to commit to LSU.
Yeah, this one kind of hurts. This is like one of the first one. I mean, obviously we'll see what happens. Hasn't committed LSU yet, but that's where all signs seem to be pointing at this point. And this would like be one of the first battles that they've lost this cycle that really kind of feels like losing a battle because it's one where you were in such a good spot. Maybe it is.
Going into Friday, I fully expected him. I had no doubt that he would be a Gator.
Yeah. Would have been the immediately the highest ranked commit in the class. So like, this is where it gets like, because I have not been like a doomer by any means about Florida's 2026 recruiting, even with the slow start. But this is one where it's like, okay, you've taken a lot of guys who are kind of more, eval based, like maybe they rise in the rankings, but right now aren't rated too high. Not a lot of like super high end talent in this class. Only one composite top 100 commit at the moment, and he's number 99 in CJ Bronow. So this is one that like it would have been really nice to have, and it's maybe they're just being wise with how they're using their money, and they're getting outbid by a ridiculous offer from LSU or something like that, but. Hard to kind of see why the staff wouldn't prioritize this one if that's the case, if they were able to make a counter. I don't know. This just is one of the first ones where it's like, man, it would have been really nice to kind of pull out all the stops to get this guy. We'll see how they close, obviously, but not necessarily the most compelling if you're like wanting to see Florida's class climb into the, into the top 10, pushing for the top 5. These are the kind of guys you would need to get.
I will say someone we're not going to talk about because he doesn't have a date set, but there's been some talks about him committing 4-star edge rusher KJ Ford, just outside the top 100, but I think he's someone that's really been surging a little bit and easily, I think, will jump in. Not easily jump inside, but easily could jump inside the top 100. I know there's been some talk because 5-star defensive end Carter Meadows committed to Michigan earlier today. That was a Michigan-Ohio State battle. So there's been talks that Ohio State's really going to push for it. I know I've heard Ohio State isn't the biggest threat in that one. I actually talked to someone I know for Ohio State and said that they're hitting all Florida for KJ Ford. So I know they're really high on him, and he might be their number 1 edge rusher. So it's like, if they land KJ Ford, their number 1 guy, they can land him before the season. Then, we'll see what ends up happening in November and December. But if they can land Ford, it'll be awesome to have both Henderson and Ford at the time. But if you can land Ford, you're at least saving yourself with a good floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would salvage the situation a decent amount if you can pull that one off. I mean, we'll see. But I will say, we are getting to the point, like, this is an important kind of next 7 days here. Like, obviously things can still change during the season. We saw things change during the season for Florida last year. But this is kind of like 4th of July weekend, especially kind of in the new era recruiting, has become sort of the weekend where things start to come together. Officials are summer officials are done. This is kind of where classes start to get built out and you get a pretty good idea. Like, obviously those classes can get gutted in November and December, and that still happens sometimes, but you're going to start seeing classes fill up quite a bit, like pushing into the 20s for those who aren't there in the next couple weeks. So, I think this is kind of the point where, it's not as much. We're getting past. I guess what I'm getting at is we're getting past the point where it's like, well, we're early in the cycle. There's a lot of time left. Like, not really anymore. Like, now we're kind of starting to buckle down and get to the point where it's like the main action of the 26 cycle.
Yeah, it's like, we can't forget last year what happened at the end of the season when we won 7 games. If we're making a playoff push, we're in the playoffs, maybe we get some more big money to come in from some boosters who are still a bit weary and questionable on Billy Napier and if he can get it done. So
the only counterpoint I would give to that is that last year, like, it was pretty easy to see, like, everyone thought in September that Billy Napier was getting fired. And when that became clear in October or whenever they put out the statement, maybe that was November, early November, that kind of gave the recruits, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, if it, I don't know if Florida winning 10 games versus 9 is going to, like, give you the switch flip in terms of recruiting that you saw last year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I just know I know people, and he said that there are boosters who just aren't putting money in like that until either Billy's fired, they're willing to put the money into a buyout. So they're not putting the money in until either Billy's fired or he proves that he can win a lot of games, that he can make the playoffs.
Which is kind of frustrating because, I mean, and I'm very Billy. I'm very Billy critical. Like, believe me, I don't like begrudge them that opinion. But the fact of the matter is, you're competing with schools that are throwing money at coaching staffs. A lot of times they don't believe. I mean, look at all the money Oklahoma is thrown at this coaching staff this year in terms of the staff, the portal guys, like a coaching staff that I'm not sure anyone really believes in, but they're trying to make it work. Like, that's kind of what you got to do here. So,
the money. They gave him that money at the end of last season. And I know a big thing that was talked about, or that was said, that the money was going to go to the transfer portal. Well, instead he put a lot of it to his freshman class. Billy kind of bet on himself, is betting on his strategy, his plan, that he's going to take the guys that he's gotten from that 22, 23, and 24 and 25 class, and he's going to use those players. And it's like, he got a couple of guys in the portal, but he's betting on himself. And I mean, let's say Billy went and got, one of the better safeties or better corners and maybe another wide receiver or so, instead of getting like a Dallas Wilson from Oregon. Instead of getting like a Hilton Stubbs, he goes and gets a transfer safety. Like, he could have done that, and maybe you're looking at the roster a little bit more, and it's like maybe instead of our over under being 6.5, maybe it's like 8 or something like that. So, but Billy's betting on his strategy.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Like, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, we'll see if it works, but my issue is more just like to whatever extent this is happening. Like, if you're a booster and you would otherwise be giving to recruiting or the transfer portal, whatever, for NIL purposes, like, if you're waiting for Billy to win 10 games first, like, I'm sorry, but this is kind of a prerequisite to winning 10 games now. Like in college football, is kind of having that financial commitment to roster building to get in place. So that, I mean, and to whatever, I don't know to what extent that's happening, but I'm just saying that's to me a little bit different than not wanting to give money to like a truly lame duck coaching staff, which is what they were last year. Because like Billy could still get fired this year, but he's not a lame duck coach by any means right now. So
yeah, well, I think they can still put the money in there after they see the success this season. It's like,
sure, you're just playing from behind at that point. I mean, like Florida was playing from behind last year too. It just worked out, but that's still not an ideal spot to find yourself in. That's all I'm saying.
What is signing day? 2025.
December. Usually like December 14th or 15th, something like
that. Well, it was like December 4th last year. Was it?
Okay.
Because it was the week after the season. I remember that.
Okay.
It's okay. No, that's February. Why is it not showing me? Yeah, 2025 early. Okay, I guess they don't have it yet, but if it's that,
it's the early signing period. Google AI says December 3rd through 5th. I'm trying to find confirmation of that because I don't.
But was that
Google
that was last year?
No, it's saying for the December 3rd through 5th, 2025.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I have to pull up a calendar. So maybe it just is the first week of December again, that Wednesday. The signing period isn't just Wednesday. That Wednesday is when it opens.
It's a 3-day signing period that begins on that Wednesday. That runs that Wednesday to Friday, I believe.
Yep. So I mean, we'll know if before that, like, we'll know what the season's likely going to be after that Georgia game. Like, if they're sitting there with less than 3 losses after that Georgia game, I think there's a real good chance this team makes the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's a disaster, we'll know earlier than that. I think at that point we'll know if it's like just solid progress or like actually something pretty special. Yeah, we'll probably know that.
All right, let's move on and get to these other kids that we I just ignored for the past 10 minutes now. The same day as Henderson, July 2nd, Kendall Gervil, 4-star defensive tackle out of Fort Myers, right? I think it's Fort Myers. I don't have that up right now, but
I'm pulling that up. Yeah, Fort Myers.
Commits. So he announced his commitment day like while he was at Texas. He's got crystal balls in to go to Texas. Heard it's not as simple as it's 100% Texas. It's one that I think we need to keep an eye on. Don't know. I'm not predicting him to be at Florida right now, but it's one that if we could win, if you can get Ford and Gervil, it's like, would you rather win Henderson and Ford or Ford and Gervil?
Probably Ford and Gervil.
Because then you're getting an actual defensive tackle, not just 2 edge rushers.
Yeah.
So, preferably you'd like to get all 3, but if you're only getting 2, you'd probably rather get, 2 pretty good players at each position.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I mean, it's hard for me to say, it's hard to feel very good at all about this. I mean, I think Florida's had some smoke, made a nice push. It's just like, haven't had a lot of success trying to win one-on-one battles with Texas, especially for defensive linemen. And, his last visit being to Texas, obviously them getting the last word in makes you a little bit nervous. I mean, I think Florida has a shot here, but if I were a betting man, I'd probably say it is more than 50% no, but I don't know how much more, maybe not a lot more than 50%.
Yep. All right. So the next commitment, we don't exactly know. I've been told Malik Morris, 4-star linebacker out of Lakeland, is coming the July 4th. Although that hasn't been he hasn't posted yet. It's just inside sources saying that that's the day that they are hearing. If he does, I love it to be Florida. It's been interesting because I've been hearing things about his injury and put some weight on. I've also seen people talk about his film from his junior year. I was reading someone breaking down his film, and they were talking about him having some of the best film of all the players who are going after this class. So if he can get healthy and play it healthy and everything, like maybe he's someone that they just can't not take. Maybe it's a risk they have to take and allow him in this class.
Yeah. I mean, their linebacker recruiting has been pretty spot on. I mean, we'll see how it works out with Ty Jackson, but I mean, a guy that they feel really good about, obviously, from taking him. I mean, and I think, yeah, I agree with you. This seems like whenever he does commit, that this is Florida's battle to lose. Lakeland guy, like the Lakeland to Florida pipeline is pretty strong right now. And would be one of the better players in the class, like sitting right outside the top 200. Could pretty easily climb up there. 247's own ratings are a decent amount lower on him. So like if they gave him a bump, or just if someone gives him a bump, I don't have where he is on other sites right in front of me, but point being, he's a guy that is not many bumps away from being a composite top 200 player. So that'd be a really nice pickup.
It's like one, but I mean, with the update when On3 and when Rivals is acquired by On3, which happens the first, that could do it right there. I'm not sure.
Is that how that? So yeah, that's a good question actually. When they do that, yeah, this is sports business talk, but no, like I'm curious when they do that merger. Yeah, I don't know do Rivals rankings just go away? Did they just get absorbed?
I don't know, because I saw it was gonna be like the Rivals 300. So, I'm not sure how that.
I guess it'll just be on like the On3 Rivals rankings. I mean, it would seem silly to me to have competing rankings within the same company.
Yep. Yeah, it would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? Next, we're going to talk about 4-star corner Chauncey Keenan out of Sarasota. This one's really all FSU, unless something changes within the next 7 days, which I don't think I expect. But the reason we're going to talk about it is because I think Florida might be finishing around second here, and we saw it last cycle how all the top players from FSU ended up leaving. We got a couple of them. LSU got one of them. So it's like, this is one they're going to stay on, guy that could easily finish as a 5-star corner. And, FSU, they tumbled throughout the season like they did last year. I easily could see Norvell being fired and Keenan leaving. I know Keenan really loves FSU. I'm not sure what the NIL offers are. I'm not sure what his relationship with Norvell is. I know he's a big FSU guy, so that's something that to keep an eye out there. But I think if things go right for FSU, it's something that could definitely go in the Gators' favor.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's had its share of big recruiting wins over FSU recently, so I guess it's kind of fair that they get one back. Yeah, I mean, would have been a really nice player to close with, one of the better DBs in the class. Like, maybe he's a flip candidate. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens at FSU this year. I think we talked about this a little bit on the show last week. I don't really think there's a path to Mike Norvell getting fired unless, like, the floor just completely falls out again. But, maybe there's frustration. Maybe they have maybe they are like a 500 kind of team this year, and that doesn't really make him feel too confident. So maybe Florida gets in on this one later. But yeah, I mean, right now it's looking like just kind of another one where Florida just didn't quite have enough to overcome someone else being the favorite here.
Yep. All right. 2 players we're going to talk about here don't have commitment dates set, but they're 2 people I've been told could commit and flip at any time. First, 4-star linebacker out of IMG Academy, DQ Forkba. I know he's ranked 40th on ESPN, and then he's like an unranked player on the other 3 sites. Someone that I believe could jump up the rankings a good bit when the other sites update. Someone that had a pretty good season. Maybe not a linebacker right now, but a good athlete that has the physical tools to be a linebacker. But I know FSU is really in it, but I think if he's a take for the Gators, because there's the big Isaiah Williams question. I think a lot of people saw his Instagram post about him and his Gator from his official visit that he posted 2 days ago, I think 2 or 3 days ago. So it's like, drawing the Florida attention back up. And I've had the belief if Billy allows him to be in this class come signing day, he will be a Gator. I don't think he sticks with Ole Miss. So it's like, do they take Forkba and Morris and then take Williams if we want him back in this class come signing day? So it's like, do you take 3 linebackers? Maybe. I think we do take Forkba and Morris here soon.
Yeah.
And see what happens later on down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of be more inclined to say you probably only take 2 of those 3. but it's like, do you say no to the bird in hand with Forpa and Malik Morris because of you say if Billy wants him in the class, like I think that's a legitimate question of whether do you want that if you're Florida, like do you want to deal with that? And again, like not making value judgments about Isaiah Williams personally. It's just like, we've seen this movie before, and a lot of times these kids that are kind of indecisive and back and forth and easily swayed as recruits, like a lot of times that's how they are in college when the transfer portal and tampering comes knocking too. So it's just like, do you want to deal with that headache when you could take, two guys in Malik Morris and Forkpa, who I think Forkpa is a candidate that could pretty easily move up into the top 200. Like you said, still a 3-star on 247. Not a rated national prospect. So it would only take getting a bump there to really see his composite average go up a lot. So, yeah, I mean, it's like Isaiah Williams is really talented, and if he wants to be here, it's hard to say no to that, even if you've already taken Forkpa and Morris. But it's like, I kind of got to think you take those guys if they want to commit now, right?
Yep, that's my thought. And then 4-star tight end Carson Snead, currently committed to Tennessee. Someone I've heard some good things about, and I think he's a different tight end from what we have with Kikua Amua. Hezi Kent, who commits on the 12th, we're not going to talk about here, but I expect him to also commit, who both of those are more physical blocking tight ends. Carson Steen, I expect to be more of that receiving vertical threat out there. Interesting taking 3 tight ends for us this year, but I've heard really good things about, yeah, they do. So I've heard really good things, and I think we do end up flipping him, and it's could really be any time now.
Yeah, this would be a nice flip. I mean, we'll just see. I'm all for Florida taking multiple tight ends. I'd say probably. Do you think, is it even a hot take to say lagging behind far and away more than any other position on the field under Billy Napier?
I would agree.
Yeah, it's really the only position where there's not even a spin zone. It's just not good. Arliss was kind of the guy that they were banking on in the first couple years. And, with his development, it just didn't really work out. So we'll see. But
I think we got to see what Amir Jackson does, because he was a top 100 player out of high school, 4-star tight end. So it's like, maybe we see it from him this year. But
if we do, it'll be the first. It'll be the first time we've seen them do anything in terms of developing the tight ends. I mean, Hayden Hansen, I'm not trying to talk smack about. He's good at what he is, but what he is not a game-changing player. He fills a role and he fills it nicely. But as we've seen, I mean, look at Texas with Gunnar Helm last year. A good tight end can be a game or obviously Brock Bowers at Georgia. A really good tight end can be a game-changing player, and that's something Florida just has not had anything close to that under Billy Napier. I'd like to see that change.
I'm looking at it Hansen was ranked 1,869 out of high school. There was a bit of a reason for that. He could be a good, solid player for us, but we need a game changer at that tight end room.